Where is everyone? What the hell? No, 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 stop it. No, not today. Not today. Today, let's just get into it. YouTubers, gamers, moviegoers, what's going on, guys? I'm the Messiah, this is Messiah Entertainment, and this is about 2 weeks too late. I apologize. I was going through therapy, rehabilitation for my mind after watching this movie. Today we are reviewing Transformers: The Last Knight. This is the 5th installment into the Transformers franchise. The 5th movie, again directed by Michael Bay. This time we're following, again, Cade Yeager. I think it happens a few years after the events of the previous movie. We pick up Cade Yeager's not exactly an outlaw. He's not being hunted by the law per se, but he's sheltering Autobots from the government. So, I guess in a way he is kind of an outlaw. They bring some old characters back, like Lennox, who's working with the military. I guess he's trying to be a bit more lenient than I guess some of these other guys would be. And then we have some other characters that are sprinkled in, like Anthony Hopkins' character, who I guess is kind of like a historian, and he kind of knows things about the past and the Transformers being here long before. There's a new female character that has her own weird backstory. There's this little girl who's in the movie as well, and they played her up big in the trailers. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this movie. I might as well get out the way, and at this point, does it even have to be said? Visual effects are on point. It's the Transformers movies. Michael Bay, anything he does is going to be top-notch action-wise, and it is. Of course, everything looks visually beautiful. However, I gotta say, I don't know if it's just fatigue from the whole Michael Bay Transformers thing, but I mean, I don't know. This stuff didn't wow me this time around. I remember being in the theaters watching that first Transformers movie. That very first one, back in 2007, with Shia LaBeouf, Sam Witwicky, Megan Fox. The whole thing, I was just so enraptured with it. I remember sitting in the theater and actually catching myself with my mouth open, just like in straight awe of the amazingness that I was seeing on screen unfold in front of me. So seeing Optimus Prime transform for the first time, seeing these Transformers go head to head with one another, Bumblebee versus Barricade, and then Frenzy chase after them, to watch Blackout wipe out an entire military base. It felt really, really cool. The story felt really grounded. It felt, in a certain degree, somewhat realistic. Like, if Transformers really dropped down from Earth, I feel like this is, in a way, without maybe some of the teenage Sam Witwicky stuff, the Transformers would wipe everything out like that. And it really seemed cool. I loved Transformers. For a while, that was like one of my most favorite movies of that year. But then, and then the second one came out. At the time, I gotta admit, I liked the second one. Looking back on it in hindsight, it's like, yeah, that movie wasn't the best. It wasn't really that good, but I personally liked it. And I could still tolerate it if it's on television today. For some reason, the third one, they bounced back. I really liked the third one. And then that fourth one came out like 3 years ago, and it was just like, those videos of people walking out of the Phantom Menace where they're just like, yeah, it was good, I guess. I gotta watch it again to really find out. That's how I walked out of it, and upon rewatching, I was like, I don't know, I'm not really liking this. It's not really flying with me that much. It's definitely not anywhere on the level of the first one and the third one. And then, just coming into this one, my expectations are kind of like cautiously low, just like, I don't want to be burned by this movie again. And I mean, it dropped below my expectations. The story, I feel like it's kind of all over the place, and maybe not necessarily the story. I mean, Transformers, how many times are we gonna start off with, their ancient history being here on Earth? You know what I mean? This is the third time that we've had some kind of ancient, fourth, I think, actually, where the time period just shifts once again, and there's some new artifact that they need to get that'll stop everything and save the world again. How many times we're gonna do this? The first time, okay, the Allspark came over here. Alright, that made sense. Alright, the Allspark, yada yada. Then, they do it again with the ancient Egyptian pyramids. Where it's like, okay, they shoot the laser in the sky, that whole thing happens here. Third one made more sense because it kind of tied back into the first film, where they were, the main mission was to come back for the Allspark. And it seemed like it was a culmination more of the previous two films, and it logically followed. But then the fourth one happened, and I mean, I didn't like that story. And now they're doing another one where it's like there's some ancient history. For some reason, the Transformers were here long ago, and you know, there's some other artifact that happened and some other crazy history. And you know, they were gonna try to explain why this is the big planet that they always keep on coming to. They even say it in the trailer. Anthony Hopkins is like, "Don't you want to know why they keep on coming here?" Is it really explained? Yes. Was it an explanation anybody really cares about? Not really. The villain in this one, once again, they go with they have human antagonists at points, but they go back with Megatron, and that was just, to me, even in the last movie where Galvatron was turned into Megatron, it was just like, why? We've seen, I don't necessarily know Transformers myself 100%, but I would assume there's other characters you can draw from. There's no need to keep on doing this Megatron. Every film has Megatron in it in some way, shape, or form. Even the ones where he overstayed his welcome, like the third movie, he was at the end of his ropes. You know what I mean? By the second film, now we introduce this fallen character, and you know, that gets all convoluted, and he takes the backseat to that character. Then in the next movie, he takes the backseat to Sentinel Prime, which is a whole nother thing. Then the next movie, you're like, okay, brand new series, totally rebooted, no more Shia LaBeouf. Only things that are gonna reoccur are, you know, some of the Transformers like Bumblebee and Optimus. Nope, main character again is, they have that other guy who was the bounty hunter, who I guess is the main character in that movie, but they bring back Megatron and set him up for this movie. And it's like, it just, I don't know why they're not trying new things, but it seems like it's, at this point, it really does feel like they're making the same movie over and over again and then just reselling it to us. You know, I mean, people say that about a bunch of other film franchises, and I don't really believe that, you know, for certain things. But this is something like, it really just, it felt very similar to everything else we had seen before. They try to bring in some of the old history. They have this whole thing called the Witwickens. And instead of, you know, Sam Witwicky from the previous trilogy just being a family name, it's this whole thing where there's a line, there's a dynasty that I think is descended from Merlin from medieval times. And and those people are the Witwickens. They could wield this sword that could, like, I can't even remember what the thing does. It's like, basically you grab the sword, you can fight with it, and it kind of ends the movie. It's like, I don't know why they needed to do that. It was, the first Transformers was good because it was such like a self-contained story, you know? You didn't need, you know, okay, they're here for this object, and the humans are kind of caught in the crossfire. It was simple, and it made sense, and you liked it. The characters were simple, they made sense, and you liked them. You know, I'm just not flying with this whole Cade Yeager, and it's not Mark Wahlberg's fault. I like Mark Wahlberg as an actor. He's done serious films. He proved that last year with Patriots Day and Deepwater Horizon, and plenty of times throughout his career. He's a great serious actor. He's also a great comedic actor, which, you know, in a movie like Transformers, you would kind of pull on both. There are dramatic scenes that require more heartfelt moments. There's more comedic scenes that, you know, require more, you know, comedy to come out. And I feel like he could do both, but it's just unutilized here, and that just reminds me, oh my god, the comedy of this movie, straight up abysmal. I mean, there are so many jokes that come in here that just don't get laughs. Like, anytime somebody says something, and you can tell, like, there's a odd little pause in the middle of the movie, as if, you know, we're really gonna say, ha ha ha, okay, yeah, give him a second, guys, you know, give him a second, guys, we gotta let him laugh. Dude, it was crickets in the movie theater, and this movie theater was oddly empty. Friday night, we went on opening night, me and Johnny, we went opening night, and there was barely anybody in the theater. If that didn't raise red flags for me, I was looking around, I took a video on my phone, I was like, where is everyone? What is going on? And I think, I don't know how it did. I'm pretty sure it made its money back because these are Transformer films, and idiots like me and my friends go and support these things despite having problems with them. However, it's just like, I'm pretty sure this was a low for the franchise. If I'm not mistaken, in terms of opening weekends, this was definitely a low point for the franchise. So, you know, I mean, I think people are starting to catch on that this stuff isn't really doing it. They try to sell the whole, because there's a Bumblebee spin-off movie coming out that's gonna thankfully be directed by somebody else, although I'm sure Michael Bay will have some influence, sort of like he didn't direct the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. However, it definitely felt like a Michael Bay-ish sort of film. I feel like it's going to be the same instance here where, you know, he's not directing it necessarily, but it does, his presence is going to be felt. They try to push the whole Bumblebee thing. They include a scene, if you remember in the trailer, and I guess this is a slight spoiler, but whatever. It's such a small moment in the movie. If you remember, there was those scenes where it looked like they were to be going through the Middle Ages, then it'd be going through Nazi era with Transformers fighting, and then they go through modern day. Bumblebee was that whole scene with the Nazi stuff, that's only to set up a Bumblebee backstory. And apparently Bumblebee has been here with other Transformers since then, since the Nazi era. Which doesn't make any sense because the Transformers first landed during the first movie back in 2007. Or not the first Transformers, but that whole crew, Bumblebee and, you know, Ironhide, Ratchet, Jazz, and Optimus, they landed right around that time period. Bumblebee was just the first one to get here. So it's like they're rewriting history. Again, they're rebooting stuff, so it doesn't really matter. You know, they don't really care. They're gonna do what they want to do to help sell this next movie. Yeah, it was just a big disappointment. You know, in the beginning of the movie starts off with this whole medieval times sort of thing where, you know, the Transformers come in and start helping the side of King Arthur, and it's just the way it's shot, it's cut so weirdly, and the camera's so shaky that you honestly don't know who's who. You know, they keep on referencing King Arthur, what should we do? King Arthur, what is this? King Arthur, and it's like they cut to 10 different people, and you're like, who the hell is King Arthur? You can't understand what's going on in the scene, and thus it just feels weird. Also, Stanley Tucci, who was in the previous movie, has a cameo in one of these scenes, and it's like he's not. First off, he's not the same character as he was before, so it comes off feeling weird. It's like I don't get it. What the hell's going on here? Also, John Turturro's back in this movie for some reason. Doesn't play a huge role, just kind of cameos in it. I don't know if, you know, they thought they were gonna get like a Fast and Furious when both of the Shaw brothers popped up on the plane. Everybody was like, oh yeah. I don't know if they thought they were gonna get that from this, but they definitely didn't. I don't know what they were going for. They didn't even feel right. They shot in Cuba for some reason. Listen, man, I mean, I don't know. This movie just seems like a big jumble of stuff, and not a lot of it I liked. There was quite a few times where I kind of felt bored with the movie, even with the crazy amounts of action. It's just I didn't really see much that really like wowed me this time. And if you're talking about the characters, don't even get me started on those guys. I mean, like I said before, I wasn't a big fan of Kate Yeager, but if you remember my trailer reactions, I said that I was looking forward to seeing how they handle the children characters. And not just that girl, but also all the children that they pushed pretty hard in the trailers. All those kids who were in the stadium and they were like, you want to see a Transformer over there? Or you know what I mean? And it's like they're literally in that one scene. And then, with the exception of the girl, because the girl she plays throughout the entire thing, they'll probably, I guess, bring her back in further installments. All those other kids were gone in the first scene, you know, and it's just like, you had an opportunity to sort of do like a Stranger Things sort of thing with Transformers, and it didn't work. And they used this girl character they were pushing super hard in the trailers, and that didn't work either because her presence in the movie was 110% unnecessary. What is she doing there in the movie? She'll pop up in the beginning scene, somehow magically appear, teleport. It's crazy. They'll transport from one place to the next, and it's never explained how she got to that next location. It's never explained. She just kind of pops up as if she hit on the back, although they're Transformers, they would, I would assume, feel if some kid was hiding in the trunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just didn't make sense how she appeared to the next location. They just kind of did it for the sake of the story. And then, you know, after a while you realize, okay, I'm not really liking this character either. And they don't even focus on her enough for you to really care. They kind of give you some exposition heavy kind of dialogue scene where she says like her family was, you know, I think they were killed during the Chicago battle back in the third movie, and thus she's been on her own ever since. You know, it's just like, you don't really like care about her by the end, and then they jump away from her for a long period of time, and then she doesn't come back until the end, and it's like, why is she here? Why is she here? There's this other character who's like a bit of a comic relief, another comic relief in this movie, who's also like, you know, helping Kate Yeager with the Autobots and stuff like that. Dinobots are back in this movie again, serve no real purpose. The villain in this movie, other than Megatron, there's Optimus Prime finds his creator. That's another thing. Optimus Prime isn't even in the freaking movie. You know, it's like they pulled Revenge of the Fallen, except even worse because he's literally not in the beginning of the movie. There's a few scenes where he's like a dialogue shot. At least in Revenge of the Fallen, he had a cool battle scene where he took on like 5 different Transformers, you know, before, you know, he got killed himself, and then for the remainder of the movie, that's when we didn't see him. But he doesn't even get that scene. He's just kind of like captured in space. His creator kind of changes him, and then he doesn't pop up until the end of the movie. And then even the fight scene there isn't even that cool. You know, it's like just this movie just really kind of disappointed me on so many levels. And you know, I say like, oh, Transformers sucks, this and the other thing. I want Transformers to be good. I know Michael Bay can do good movies. He's done good movies and other things. I'm not hating on Michael Bay. I'm not a Michael Bay hater. I really liked 13 Hours. His previous movie about the Benghazi thing, you know, I like that movie. I love that first Transformers. That is such a good movie. I love that movie. One of my favorite movies. But I mean, like, the path he's been going, these past 2, I don't want to see any more Transformers films. He says this is the last one, but then, again, he said that with the previous 2 films, and I doubt it. I really think, he always adds this little thing at the end where it's like, you know, if I get a good story, I'll come back, and I mean, well, the previous 2 haven't been good stories, so I don't know what you're talking about. The bar is pretty freaking low for you to come back and do a sequel. You know, I think this will be his last film? I highly doubt it. I think he'll probably do what he usually does, like, which is like, he'll do another film in between the 2. But then soon enough, we'll hear, Michael Bay is back on board. If he's not, I mean, even if he's executive producer, I still feel like it's gonna be like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles scenario, where it's like, you know, his presence is still very clearly felt. You know, it's somebody who kind of does stuff like Michael Bay. So I don't know how this is gonna turn up. I'm not. This whole franchise, this Transformers cinematic universe, the whole Bumblebee thing. This one's, and the Bumblebee is supposed to be a period piece. I think it's supposed to be set in the 80s. So I don't know how that's gonna work. Maybe under a different director and maybe with some better screenwriters, we could come up with a story that, even though it makes no sense with the timeline of the movies, especially the first one, you know, despite that, maybe we could just get something that's just kind of fun and interesting, and, you know, like, maybe we could go back to that feeling we had of being with Sam Witwicky during that first one. But I don't really see that happening. I really didn't like this movie. Left it really just bummed out. It just, I had low expectations for it, and then this movie just went below the floor. The story was, to me, kind of incoherent and all over the place. The characters, unlikable. I just didn't care about them by the end of the movie. And the action at this point, it's not wowing me anymore. You know, I mean, several movies in, you could say like it gets hard to like really come up with some brand new stuff. But I just watched Spider-Man: Homecoming the other day, and how many Spider-Man movies have we had in the past few years? How many superhero movies from Marvel specifically have we had in the past few years, with both Iron Man and Spider-Man in it? I mean, and I just mean in their separate movies. Don't you think they would have run out of ideas? But I still see things in that movie that just wow me and make me say, wow, that was a cool sequence. I really liked watching that. I didn't get that as much in here, and that's just a disappointment, especially when you kind of just resign yourself to saying, hey, well, that's just the action movie. You know, when you start not seeing things that really blow you away or wow you anymore, it's just kind of like, what is going on, man? Listen, I don't know what they're gonna do with this. The only one I'm really kind of interested in seeing is Bumblebee, because that'll be a first Transformers movie ever that's live action that'll not be directed by Michael Bay. I don't know if he's acting as executive producer or something, but that'll be the first one that's not directed by Michael Bay. So there could potentially be some hope. However, I'm not going to put my money on it. Burned out by this movie. I'm tired of Transformers at the moment. Until we get a new direction coming in from the studio or another director or something, I don't want to see Michael Bay take on any more of these films. I want to see Michael Bay just make more original films, make more 13 Hours, make more, you know, just other movies. I'm just not feeling this right now. That was a mouthful. I really just got pissed off at this movie. But this is going on way too long. Listen, guys, wouldn't really recommend you guys go see this movie. You know, man, I can't believe it. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below. What did you guys think of Transformers The Last Knight? Did you love it? Did you hate it? As always, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, guys. Please check me out on my other channel, Directions JXM. We got cool skits and short films for you guys, including To Kill a Hero, a web series I did not too long ago. Be sure to check that out. I run the channel with my boy Johnny Lee. Has his own channel on JXB Entertainment. Be sure to check that out. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I'm Messiah Entertainment. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.